Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out 2-sentence horror. Story 1. While out hiking in the mountains, a great hand grabbed me and I came face to face with a monstrous sight. A bear-like body covered in hundreds of gaping bloody mouths held me high, and as I felt the hand move me towards the countless drooling jaws, they all screamed out the word eat in anticipation. Story 2. Everybody thinks they're incapable of eating another during treacherous times. But when there's a fridge and pantry full of unappetizing food, Nanny's right there, what's a boy to do? Story 3. The man in the blue uniform clutched his chest and blood started seeping through between his fingers. The shooter in grey uniform slowly realized that someone had been doing something to his reenactment gun, and now more people had started falling around him, bleeding. Story 4. I barely noticed how crunchy my daiquiri was since my mouth was still numb from the trip to the dentist. I was drooling so much of this thick red liquid, which tipped me off to the fact that my glass had broken and I had been chewing on glass for the past half hour. Story 5. Was that movement just now out of the corner of your eye? Didn't they say they got them all? Story 6. Everyone rejoiced when the carolers came to town. The garbage, carnage, and bodies stoked the fires, as people threw their cares away. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 7. I was well known for my elaborate parties that nobody could match. So why is the Colonel, my dear friend, sneaking up behind me in the library with a candlestick? Story 8. Help me, I wrote on the receipt hoping the customer would save me from my manager. It was only when she picked up her phone and called her husband, I knew next time would be worse. Story 9. The man had swore he had set his phone to do not disturb. The only thing buzzing was the bees inside his hollow hive corpse. Story 10. The tale, re-uploaded because I found the original copy of the story. I put on the mechanical mermaid tail that was too big for me, ready to go for a swim in the hotel's pool with all my best friends and to get over my fear of being underwater. As I helplessly thrashed, unable to reach the surface or call out to my mom, I wished the teenage girl who called herself the lifeguard of the pool hadn't decided to go for a swim herself. Story 11. Leaving my car with its hazard lights blinking, I rushed into the bakery for a brief moment to grab a bagel. As I left the bakery, my breath caught in my throat when I found an empty parking space with no sign of my car or my daughter, who was sleeping in the back seat. Story 12. I didn't understand why after all the torture threats they just tied me up in an empty room. Then, the first water droplet landed on my forehead. Story 13. My hobby is taking paranormal pictures, and this time the result isn't good enough. I will make sure next time my victims will be murdered more brutally. Story 14. I checked Reddit and saw a post from r2sentence horror for the first time in days. It was an announcement that the subreddit was shutting down. Story 15. I woke up at midnight. This time the demons were real. Story 16. I saw my family for the first time in a long time. I was begging to see them again, but the surgeon made no more mistakes. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 17. Random. The moon shone bright as the campers quickly filed out the front door of the cabin during this random, completely unexpected evening fire drill. So, nobody noticed the shadows entering through the side door as the last few children were tiredly rushed out. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 18. September announcement and June winners. We're so back. Please be aware that, due to a persistent wave of trolling, we will be continuing to permanently ban users who make egregious and blatant troll posts. If you see something, say something. If you see a post that you think breaks the rules, don't just make a comment and hope that the mods get to it, report it. It's the only way to guarantee that a moderator puts eyes on the story. While we understand the temptation to use ChatGPT, one of our rules is that the stories you submit must be written by you. If we find you've been using ChatGPT to generate stories, the posts will be removed under Rule 5, be original. Don't troll or spam, don't be a jerk, don't plagiarize, and don't intentionally post stories that are low quality/low effort. All of these things may result in a permaban. Read up on our 3 strikes and you're out rule. Note, plagiarism is a once and you are permabanned ban. Just because a sentence is long doesn't mean that it's a run-on sentence, and just because you used a comma instead of a period doesn't mean it's a single sentence. September was once the 7th month of the Roman calendar, hence the name. In 153 BCE, the Romans added January, named after Janus, and February, named after a purification ceremony, Februa, making September the 9th month instead. For this month's prompt, we honor September's original position. This month's prompt is 7. Your story must include the word 7 or 7th, or may allude to the number, i.e. there were 3 vampires and 4 werewolves. Properly formatted September 2023 examples. SCP-23 There were 7 brides and 7 chains. This is the second sentence. SCP-23 I hope I do well in the contest. I only came in 7th. Improperly formatted examples. September 2023 This tag isn't right. There goes my 7th try. In SCP-23, I got the tag right, but it's not at the beginning. I also didn't mention the theme. September contest rules. The top 10 highest voted stories will be the winners. Winners can only place in the top 10 once. The highest of the entries will be their winner. Only net new stories will be allowed, no repurposing old stories you've previously submitted. Submissions that are improperly formatted, do not fit the theme, or break any of the existing sub-rules will be disqualified and removed. Max 3 stories per day is a general rule, and all 3 can be used towards the contest. Entries that are edited after submission may be disqualified. If you edit it to fix a typo, that should be fine. If you edit to fix formatting, language, or plot, it is up to the mod's discretion to remove. Winners will be decided by total community upvotes. In the unlikely event of a tie for the top spots, moderators will vote for a tiebreaker. Winners will receive first, second, and third places. You receive a custom personal flair of your choosing to show off to the TSH community. If you're a repeat winner, you can modify your flair. But that's it. And a cool fancy flair on your winning stories. 7 honorable mentions. Story links will be featured on next month's announcement. Contest ends on September 30, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. GMT. Any questions should be made below in the Story 19. It's funny that no matter how many skeletons are in the closets of sinners, the house of God has collected far more in their basements. Story 20. I can't handle any more, I'm full, I explained. As my plane took off, I could see the entity feasting upon those I left behind. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 21. Out of sight out of mind, I told myself. That was until it started screaming. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 22. The government doesn't care about your suffering too much, for they simply don't care about you. Me, on the other hand, I care a lot about your suffering. Story 23. The only man left in the world prayed to God to end his misery. Soon he realized he couldn't hear himself as he teared one of his own ribs out. Story 24. When I watched the stranger drive off with my son, I didn't know what to do. I was finally free. Story 25. It's a healthy baby girl, the doctor exclaimed. Her cries and mine mixed together in the operating room as I felt the spinal block failing, my C-section still an open gaping hole in my torso. Story 26. Every night as I sleep, my shadow goes for a walk. Unlike everyone else's, I could actually see my shadow trying to copy me. Story 27. I was flooded with terror as I heard a clanging noise from an unknown source and a wet slimy substance touched my toes. I turned on the light and saw that the last of my canned rations had been splattered on the ground. Story 28. On a cold January morning, my 6 colleagues and I stood proudly before our people surrounded by our women and children. As we sped toward orbit, the main thing on my mind was the unsettling realization that every breath I took might be my last. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 29. Daddy, please don't open the closet, someone is there, my kid said while holding the closet door shut. They are the new house owners, but I don't think they will notice us if we don't come out of the closet during the day, I replied. Story 30. A collective wail of woe erupted from the children across the globe when they awoke to find naught but lumps of coal in their stockings. Their cries of despair became screams of fright when the diamond hominivirax hatched and began feasting on human flesh. Story 31. The Hoodie. As I lay in my bed overthinking about a horror movie that I just watched, I heard something creak. I look over and see nothing but my hoodie hanging in the closet door handle. I forget the sound, but then I looked back and I think to myself my hoodie wasn't touching the ground. Story 32. Since her engagement 9 months ago, I have spent the most fabulous time with our youngest daughter, helping plan her upcoming dream winter wedding. I have just found my husband's father of the bride's speech and I am terrified that it refers to me only in the past tense. Story 33. A man once knew everything. He killed himself. Story 34. The CEO of Globe Corp Sunscreen Inc. flipped the switch with a bronzed finger and the lights of his global warming machine finally flickered off. There was nothing they could do to stop the heat now. Story 35. Last one, there is a rotten egg, I tell my students excitedly. As we begin to run, I force myself to ignore the gunshots and their agonized cries as I try to guide the others to the horrified police on the other side of the fence. Story 36. My friend said my face was too ugly for me to get a girlfriend. Let's see if his will work any better. Story 37. My husband and the rest of his fishing crew had been missing for a few weeks when a strange woman appeared at my door. With a grin on her disturbing fish-eyed face, the woman shoved a package into my hands, and when I opened it I came face to face with my husband's bloated severed head. Story 38. Every boy in the tribe must complete a harrowing test of physical and mental endurance if they wish to pass on to manhood. Few survive the ordeal the white man calls the creature. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.